Hey everyone, it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So today I have my recent reads numbers 11 through 20. Number 11 was The Shame by McKenna Goodman. I picked this up on a whim as an audiobook from Scribd. It just looked really interesting. I thought the cover was really interesting. So we follow Alma, and she is a stay-at-home mom. She has a daily schedule. She is with her kids. She cleans. She searches for secondhand goods online and reads books by women writers she adores. And then one night she just leaves everything behind and goes to New York. This book is told through a series of flashbacks, and we follow Alma and we're in her head, and we slowly start to learn the circumstances and the choices that led her to just leave everything behind. I thought it was really interesting. It wasn't my favorite, and maybe it's because I'm probably not the target audience for this. It's very much a novel about motherhood and sometimes that claustrophobia of motherhood. You are just kind of, just for lack of a better term, you're kind of stuck. You know, you don't have as much freedom as you do when you're child free. So I thought it was a really interesting exploration of that, kind of the exploration of searching for meaningful art and things that make you happy. I don't really remember a ton about it. It wasn't extremely memorable for me, but I do remember really appreciating the exploration of motherhood. And as someone who is child-free and not intending to have any children in the near future, I thought it was really interesting and thought-provoking. So next I read Havana Year Zero, translated from the Spanish by Christine McSweeney, and I have been wanting to read this for so long. I didn't know that much about it. I just knew that it was from a Cuban author, and the cover looked really cool, and it's Charco Press. So this is set in 1993, and there is a widespread economic crisis in Cuba after the collapse of the Soviet bloc. And we follow maths lecturer Julia, and she is at a low point in her life, and she becomes aware of this historical document that proves that the telephone was actually invented in Cuba. And she and some of her friends become just really obsessed in an attempt to find this missing document to help return Cuba's credibility. At the beginning, I was really drawn in. It was very mysterious, and I liked kind of slowly peeling back the layers of the book. And I did really enjoy the twists and turns of the plot, and I liked that she focused on smaller things that are normally left out of history books. But the characters just didn't really resonate with me. I didn't connect with any of them. Couldn't really tell you that much about them. And they were all flawed, so they were realistic. But I also didn't really care about their romantic entanglements, and it just kind of fizzled out for me in the end. I would definitely read more by this author because I did enjoy her writing, but this was kind of a middle-of-the-road book for me. Next, I reread The Unbroken, which is book 1 in the Magic of the Lost series by C.L. Clarke. This is desert fantasy. We follow a princess and a soldier, and they are haggling over the price of a nation. It is part of the Sapphic trifecta of 2021, and it's got rebellion, espionage, and assassinations. Terrain is phenomenal. Her arms on this cover are just top tier, and I loved it even more the second time around. Next, I read Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson. I picked this up on a whim. I was really just in the mood for some literary fiction, and this popped up in my suggestions, so I went with it. So the protagonist is Jeanette, and her adopted mom thinks that she's the chosen one from God, and so Jeanette is starting to realize she likes girls, and this causes so much chaos in her life. And so she was brought up in a working class Pentecostal family. Jeanette starts going to school and confides in her mother about her feelings for another girl, and her mother freaks out and gets swept up in this frenzy to save her soul. So it's really her exploration of coming to terms with her sexuality and that she likes girls and that doesn't fit in with the mold that her mother put as she was growing up. And it did have some really funny moments. It had some really sad moments. And it was just a good time. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading more of her work. Next, I read Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This was a reread for me, 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved it, and the ending was just so satisfying and emotional. I loved it. Next, I read Death in Florence, the Medici, Savonarola, and the Battle for the Soul of a Renaissance City by Paul Strathern. I am currently reading Romola by George Eliot, and it is set at the point in history in Renaissance Florence where the Medicis have been pushed out, and Savonarola has risen to gain control of the city. And I didn't really know that much about it, and this book was suggested to me. And so I paused Romola and read this, and it was really interesting. I liked Paul Strathern's writing style. It was to the point and educational, but still felt like I wasn't reading a textbook. It was really good. So I feel like I have a little bit more of a background to where I can really appreciate Romola more. And overall, I would definitely recommend it. It was fascinating. Next, I read Chain of Gold, which is book 1 of The Last Hours by Cassandra Clare. And this follows the descendants of the characters of the Infernal Devices. I really, really enjoyed this. It was such a good time. We have Persian rep and LGBTQ rep, and I really, really just love this friend group. And I loved following all of the plot twists, and it was just so good. So I devoured that. It did not take me that long to read it, and it's 600 pages, but it was just 600 pages of pure delight. And next I read Chain of Iron, which is book 2 in The Last Hours, and this was also fabulous. The romantic tension and angst was top tier, and I still love following this friend group. They're so lovely, and I just loved the expansion of the plot from book 1. I'm really excited to see where the next book goes. Next, I read Sorrowland by River Solomon. We follow Vern, and at the beginning of the book, she is 7 months pregnant, and she is desperate to escape the strict religious compound where she was raised. So she flees to the woods, and she gives birth to twins and plans to raise them in the outside world. And even in the forest, she is being hunted, and she's fighting back against this community, the commune that just refuses to let her go. To protect her family, she kind of has to face the past and then also the future outside of the world she knows. And finding this truth helps uncover the secrets of not only the compound that she fled, but also the violent history in America that produced it. And this is definitely a genre-bending book. It's gothic fiction, and it was so fascinating because the monsters in this book weren't just, one individual. It was entire nations. I'm just so impressed with what Rivers Solomon did with this. Their writing was so powerful and impactful, and the writing is gorgeous. The storytelling was phenomenal, and it definitely is eye-opening and just really forces you to look at what the world is willing to do to Black bodies. It's something that I'm never going to forget. It's such a thought-provoking book. It's definitely not going to be my last book by Rivers Solomon. There are a lot of trigger warnings for body horror, cults, sexism, death of children, molestation, abuse. It starts out feeling like a survival story, and then it just expands into so much more and explores generational trauma and trauma from religion and oppression. And it was also really interesting because toward the beginning of the book, we're following Vern and her children, and they're escaping to the outside world. And her children have only known the life in this commune or life in the woods. They don't know anything about the outside world. So things like sidewalks and cars and things like that are just completely foreign. And it just really made me think, like, what would I think of those things if I were in that situation? But I definitely think the most impactful thing about this book was just the exploration of what this world is willing to do to Black bodies. And that's something that's going to stick with me. And it's one of those books that I've thought about since I've read it. And the more I think about it, the more I appreciate it. So I highly, highly recommend this book. And I am definitely going to read more by Rivers Solomon because their writing was just phenomenal. And finally, I read Snuffed Out by Valona Jones. This is my first cozy of the year, which is crazy. So we follow two twin sisters, Tabby and Sage, and they co-own a candle shop, the Book and Candle Shop in Savannah. And their personalities are like polar opposites, so sometimes they clash, but then it also works out really well for their partnership. And one of their customers is found murdered from a blow to the head, and so it really puts their partnership to the test. And of course, they get involved in the mystery, and things go from there. I thought it was a pretty good start to a new series. I really enjoyed that our protagonists are twins. I haven't seen that before. And they did have psychic abilities. It was just the right amount of paranormal for me. Just a touch, but it wasn't the entire story, which I appreciated. The setting was great. I did think that the book was a bit too long, but I think it also felt like that because I didn't connect with the characters or fall in love with the setting as much as I normally do in a cozy mystery. But I'm definitely excited to read book 2 when it comes out, and I'm sure, book 1 is usually a setup book. You need to get to know the town and the characters. So I always try to give a cozy mystery the first 2 books to see if I'm really going to stick with it. But I enjoyed this one for the most part, and it was a good cozy time. So have you read any of these books? If so, please let me know down below. If you'd like to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, drop a black cat or some kind of cat emoji down below. As always, if you like this video, make sure to click the thumbs up and subscribe if you want to. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.